The cryptic scribes his message to the world on a spiral-ringed scroll, hoping to be taken before morning's light. In the sea lies his hidden hope and self-same sorrow. His words seem to float upon the page as he composes them, haphazard in their dramatic scrawling, though shifting quickly into omens as the ink begins to dry. He wakes to a future, bright sunlight constricting bloodshot eyes, still here. The eye that sees shuts ever tighter, while the waking eyes once more shake off the evanescent black. That blissful state of non-being that nightly steers his consciousness away from the material and toward home like a mother leading her child. He never really remembers it, that half-dreamed obfuscation of the other side, easier to forget than to blame something he came out of that was not flesh, though it knew his name. Mother of God, he swears, stumbling as he steps into a wash of coruscating reflected light emanating from a bedroom window. One can pull the shades down tight, that blind truth from phantasm. One can choose to abide in the netherworlds of far-sighted, unblinking dreams. But one cannot outrun the tides when there is nowhere else to go but inside. But having half-written another note, he decides it's not worth the time, seeing as how daylight has come, the dire inner monologue droning on in declamation. Having roused his thin body from the cushioned chair he fell asleep on in the early morning hours, before he could write the final paragraph explaining the excruciating decision to drown himself in the vast sea that awaited now, just beyond the door. The pale, yellow-faced ambassador of the other world was gone. In its stead burned an illuminating and dove-like minion. When did he sleep? Why has the sun returned? Splitting the haze of half-remembered memories, its lucent rays fell pleasingly on his ruddy face. Someday he may find the note, come upon it accidentally. Captivated, he will read it, scribble some long-awaited final thought at the bottom of the page, and walk into the sea. It is doubtful to think anyone will ever know what is written there, on that page that holds the footnote that breaks the thought, just as death's call severs waking. Silence is the answer, and silence writes the book. And silence is the wordless word that can never be revoked, sullying with a hardening grit that indolence in the young of mind, while boys and girls waking up to languid days are fed that all the world is an act worth their acting, while most of the people they see try to think and act alike. The truest of cries may be the unspoken goodbye that haunts the world and courts the minds of those who likewise will leave it behind. My friend, they have judged you as they will judge me, but I do not judge you. I have known the passion that ground your will against its steel blade, the sharpness that has split your mind in two. I know your spirit well. They have condemned you as they may condemn me, but you never feared their reproach, and nor shall I. And here I write in a city much like yours, where desire is fit to exist in the elements that will destroy it, where the mind is pitted against the nature that must overtake it. Outside these boxed walls, a brutal shoreline erodes, and by the day do artists unnoticed slip quietly out of mind and nearer to destiny and to the crashing of the waves. Here isolation knocks with fists swathed in siren's cloak. Were one existent in the world, its dooming call might fall upon one's ears in deafness. But alone, its draw is bound to take the soul under if one lets it in one's doors. Detachment will lull one through those watery ways to their end, depressing cares from their points of surfacing, like might the needle that holds the world in a benign suspension, But who can say to what depths of escape one's devils will have cause to deliver? Surely romantic allure has seduced many a prophet inward, seeking refuge there to find what only the accursed know of the anguish that goaded on may guide and squire the mind in passage through the blinding of that veil. Perhaps for some by such knowing might come the subsequent ease to face one's hells here, to clear one's name at the peak of this physics ultimation, and then in this tried doctrine brandished with careful minding, thrust true that steely sharpened regard inward while plunging with intact intent into the void. Such as these are among they who fall victim to desire's sirens in the draw toward true experience, driven to the extremities of feeling by an intuitiveness whose point of reference guides from outside the known charts, some determining to flee the mediocrity of this world forever, finding the stale remnants and habituations in their daily returnings to be far outblazed by the scintillating shine of what burns them alive from within. On this day, as in days that are past for the others thus aggrieved, whose intentions they could not have possibly known, some now revere in inducting storyline those whom before their self-enacted departures were no less saintly than they were human. A tragic end, an untimely passing. Fair ones, cleave not to the estrangement in the creeds of those who seek to bestow immortal pedestals unto they that have died, while dismissing what powers lie, but asleep in the souls of the living. The untimely and tragic were no more hopelessly or hopefully lost than might you be, had you dreamed with opened eyes, squeezed life as did they from the fountain's ghostly tentacles, and then watched that inner serpentine beast that cannot die being eaten by money or drugs or fame, only later to regrow its heads with more unruly and venomous tongues. Misunderstood, misaligned to commercialist claim, some burned their visions in the streets to make an unlistening nation aware, others violently silencing themselves in the face of crumbling hopes. Death finds us all in the end, so despise not the tortured cynic who daily dies without bloodshed, fading to black while envisioning mortality's release, nor the coal-eyed believer with her ear pressed against the stone, waiting for the spoken invitation from those passed on. By death does desire live, and by it also does desire recruit, though its enticements will not be constrained from taking the impassioned few who will come too soon to find their Christ still in the tomb, or the reticent mercenaries whose unearthly cause was never to be revealed to the eyes of the world. To the few who understand is given to know that life cannot hold, it only receives, and replants, and regrows what cannot be taken past the pinhole of the grave. Desire lives on where the fallen have left it, sprawling from the exhausted hands that held it to survive, leaking from cold tongues bound by its promises. Its gift lingers not in the sepulchres of the departed, but billowing on ethereal sails, broad as the brushstroke of a youthful naivety, will head to the radiant horizon of an amateur artist's awestruck mind. In this blackened, bleakened frame, fractured by allure and mystique, and formatted to fit the omnipresent television, I see wrecked fragments of worlds too real for this dimension touching through, like wingtips rippling their watery reflections. Some see as far down as the heights they could fly, given the wings they only knew in dreams, given the wings they stole from their demons, given the wings they had to puncture into their own flesh, given the wings and a way out. Inspiring muse, grant me hope above this visceral ache in my phantom wounds, my unrest in the scatterings of ashes of those now gone. Grant me darkness vivid and wide in this land where numb imaginings infect wakeful minds and sleep is a ritual of the self-contented. Grant me wandering insight in my burrow of self where there is shelter and heat made of spirit, where dreams are the blood in the veins and the fire that is not seen. May the world seek to comprehend its artists' and prophets' meanings, not to immortalize their names and faces, or to stone them for voicing anachronistic truth. May memory fade to loose what chains are forged, to enslave vision to the visionary mind that imagines it, art to the frenzied spirit's intensity that chooses to build or paint or scribe it. May words outlive my own impotent struggles to contain them, and may dreams outlive these words. Amen.